His featured work tonight is his premiere book entitled North of Armageddon. Weaned on Bradbury and Tolkien as a pup, Clint is a longtime lover of psychological horror and the fantastical. He draws much of his ideas from writing by observing people in his worldly travels and around town in the Los Angeles area. In North of Armageddon, months after the zombie apocalypse, the few last holdouts flee to Canada and Alaska, where it's cold and isolated. With mosquitoes spreading disease and birds falling dead out of the sky, the exiled travelers begin to lose hope that there's a future at all for humanity. Meanwhile, in the now overpopulated bastion of Juneau, Alaska, a scientist and a detective try to find out the cause of the affliction and hopefully put an end to it. North of Armageddon.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus, Sarah says over and over to herself, teeth chattering. It's fucking freezing. Sarah never liked to cuss, but she found a swear word here and there raised her temperature just a bit. Spending so much time with her husband is making her vulgar. Travis's old pickup truck never did insulate heat well enough, even with the blankets they stuffed throughout every corner of the interior. She looks out the little peephole in the passenger side window, but her heart sinks once again when all she sees is snow and shadows. It was stupid that they had let themselves run out of gas, even though they always hovered close to the main roads just in case. But Travis promised he'd be back by sunrise with gasoline. By sunrise, everything would be better again. Oh, sweet baby Jesus, she repeats, huddled up in her old quilt her mother had made her when she was a child, the one with the cute baby lambs painstakingly sewn into the fabric. She shivers and rubs the warmth back into her arms. Travis, please be okay out there.
Nights are the worst. Sarah sees creatures in the shadows, ones that are real as often as not. She never knows for sure until she can see the creatures well enough to hear their hooves or paws crunch through the snow. One time a squirrel fell onto the windshield and tried to chew through the glass to get to them. It could barely lift its head and it likely had a broken back. Sarah thought in a situation like that she would have screamed hysterically, but she just sat there, dead still, gun pointed at the squirrel, heart hammering against her ribs. She didn't feel fear, at least not for herself. Sarah just felt angry. Ever since she and Travis fled up here, it had been a constant struggle to keep her wits in the midst of dead woodland creatures, and she had come to her wits' end. Sarah rolled down the window just enough to get a gloved hand through. Lunging like a snake, she grabbed the little monster and squeezed. At first it tried to bite at her. She squeezed it harder. It just stared at her, its hideous little buck teeth pointing at her. She squeezed it harder. The squirrel stopped, went limp in her hands, but still she squeezed it hard until she could feel it collapse in her hand and see the blood ooze from its eyeballs. Sarah realized she was clenching her teeth and relaxed her jaw. Her husband was rustling under his covers in the back of the truck. The night air was disturbing him. Sarah opened the door and rolled up the window. Then silently she closed the door and carried the squirrel off into the woods to bury it in the snow. The glove was coated in gore and smelled a mess, and she tossed it as a grave marker for the creature. She never told Travis about the incident. He did ask about the glove, though, but Sarah said she must have dropped it somewhere. There's enough terror in the daytime without Travis hearing about what goes on at night, like the sound the owls make. Sarah hates the owls. When undead birds sing, there's no music in it. There's just a low, long whistle, like they're deflating. Sarah thinks that the night owl sounds sadder than anything she's ever known. I'm going to turn this car around.
Germ, we did what we had to do.
I'm not talking to you.
You already said that.
I don't like it, man. I come back home fighting in one desert, and now I'm out here in another. What the hell, man? I'm back home, and the killing just don't stop. I don't want to keep murdering people, Micah. Just first Little Rock, and now this.
It wasn't... Germ, listen to me instead of being a damn drama queen. Back in Little Rock, that wasn't our family out there.
I know that, but...
That girl was good as dead, Germ. We couldn't do anything for her.
Does that make it right?
We did what we had to do. Germ slams on the brakes.
We did what we had to? We did what we had to? Shit, Micah, stop and listen to what you're saying. Jacqueline, that girl back there, she was a human being. She was still alive, you jackass. You, me, we're gonna have to live with that. So don't try and hide it with empty words. It's an insult to her and everyone else we left behind.
Micah looks away from his brother, choosing to stare out at the desert shrubs and watch the pink sunlight fade into the horizon.
Jeremiah clicks on the only station running in the area and puts the car back into drive. James Taylor is singing about fire and rain. About 50 or so miles of only choppy radio and car noises. Micah clears his throat. He points to a buzzard hobbling across the road. Clicking the high beams on, they can see it only has one wing. Its beak is cracked and hanging slack.
That thing dead?
Looks like it. He starts to swerve toward the bird.
Don't! I don't want to be scraping bird parts off my car.
Whatever, man. Germ turns the wheel a little and they can hear the beak scraping and rattling loudly along the side of the car. Micah frowns at Germ. What, you need to spit or something? It's just paint. Don't worry so much, man.
I'm gonna take a nap. Figure you're gonna run us off a cliff eventually and I'd rather go in my sleep.
Suit yourself. Wake up! Germ swats at Micah.
It was still dark out. What time is it? Micah asks.
We're just about past the butt crack of dawn, man. I think I'm seeing things like zombies out of the corner of my eye, switch with me and before I start driving off into the desert.
Micah rubs his eyes and stretches in his seat. They awkwardly crawl around the seats to switch places. He rolls the seat back up to the steering wheel. It sounds like a spine cracking. Where are we?
We just hit Colorado about 30 minutes or so back.
All right, Germ, I got it. He starts up the vehicle again and starts back down the highway. The sun had just started peeking on the horizon. A line of shadows scuttled beyond the edge of the headlights. Germ?
What? I was just starting to drift off.
You know how you said you were seeing things?
Yeah? Germ takes a second before he bolts upright. What, zombies?
Micah points his finger toward the side of the highway. A mass of people are stumbling down the road, though it becomes obvious by their jerky movements that these aren't people, at least not ones that are alive. They all have working legs, but some have chunks taken out of them in most other places, maybe from the buzzards. The silhouettes of a woman and child fall over and pull themselves back up to catch up with the group.
What is this, a zombie parade? Where the hell do they think they're going?
Looks like they're going the same way we are. North.
February 13th, 2012. I was pleasantly surprised to receive a visit from Lucinda today. After telling about what I was hoping to achieve with my research on the undead, she revealed that she is Sarah Scarborough. Apparently nobody at the Rapturous compound had informed her about my existence. I wondered what game they were playing at by keeping me there. At my request, Sarah reluctantly agreed to be interviewed and recorded. I assured her any bit of information could help. Lucinda, that is, Sarah, does not believe her husband Travis will agree to come. He's a bit distrustful of people, it seems. It's a pity, but I consider myself lucky that I at least have her perspective on the outbreak. I've transcribed their conversation within this journal for my records.
Is it on?
Yes, we're recording now.
Thank you for the tea, by the way. I haven't had tea since, well, I can't even remember. Travis and I have been foraging and hunting for so long now.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Please, make yourself at home.
What was it like here after the outbreak?
Excuse me?
I mean, what were the people like? In Juneau? In Canada? Travis was afraid things would get too crazy, so we lived out of his truck. We heard stories. People we met on the road said that the Canadian government was rounding up refugees and sending them back to America.
Much of what you heard was true, I'm sure. I myself was under constant fear of lynching after the outbreak. There was a line of thought that my research partner and I were developing a virus that caused this.
Weren't you scared?
I was more incensed than anything. For the first few months, I largely kept myself locked away in my room, preoccupying myself with experiments and theories.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Don't be. I'd be hard-pressed to find someone who hasn't lost family and loved ones at this point. But enough about me.
Yes. You wanted to know about the zombies?
Whatever you can tell me.
I'm not sure what I can tell you that you don't already know.
Ultimately, I would like to find out what causes this condition and how to stop it. But for now, I'm interested in what their habits are, if they followed any noticeable behavioral patterns. In other words, was there anything unusual about zombie behavior?
They're just dead people. I don't know. Don't you have zombies around here? Do the walls of the city really
and it's only the careless who put their hands into the back of dark cabinets that get infected. In truth, I've met very few people who have spent any considerable time outside of the city. The outbreak is a very recent phenomenon with no discernible origin. Without any kind of field testing or experts on zombies, all we have to go by are piecemeal stories and individual accounts.
I've been trying to piece it together myself. The religious group Travis and I have been staying with say that it's man's sins coming back to punish the sinners. I don't know about that, but I wonder if maybe God had something to do with it. Maybe this was destined to happen, like 2012 is when the world's clock just stops and none of us are going to live to see the next year. The zombies, they're...
Yes?
Oh, this is going to sound crazy.
Trust me, I've heard crazy as you are far from it.
Well, it almost seems like they still act like they're alive sometimes. Have you ever heard an undead owl, Doctor?
On occasion.
Then I don't need to describe to you what they sound like. They don't hoot much during the day. We've seen undead wolves hunt in packs, too. And undead people. They also huddle together in groups, and they'll stay around buildings.
That's an interesting observation you made. Do you believe they may be alive, but there is some kind of brain activity?
I assure you, those owls, those things don't sleep. They're awake during the day, but they only make noises at night, out of habit, not by choice. Same with the songbirds in the morning, only it's just awful. They're like little dying tea kettles, like they forgot how to sing, but they try anyway. It's the same with human zombies, too, like when you used to read about maniacs breaking into people's homes and wearing their heads as hats. Except those creatures, that's what they...
Take your time.
I'm sorry. I need to stop now. Please. Can we stop?
Thank you very much indeed, players. Now, once again, if you are interested in purchasing a copy of North of Armageddon, it is available tonight, and the author, Clint Pereira, is with us as well. Now, our next featured author and book is a collection of poetry.